Okay, first of all, thank you very much for sharing the link of this video, and the students who are not able to find the link of the first part of this messaging app, you can check out the description section. In that you will be able to find that link over there. Okay, let's come on this Applab platform, and so we guys were done with designing this screen, and also we guys were done with defining the required code for this button over here. Right, besides that, so this is a screen which the user is going to come across once he is done with successfully creating his profile on this platform. Right, and now when he will hit this image button over here, he's going to come on this screen, and he is going to see his email ID, the one with which he has registered his profile on this platform, getting reflected over here. Right, and the other IDs, the IDs of the other people who have registered their profiles on this platform. If this person want to check them out, he can hit this drop down over here, and automatically all the IDs will be visible to this person in this option section of this drop down. Right, so that's how we have coded this drop down, and this is the code which we have defined over here for fetching all the IDs from the table named users. Okay, now if suppose this person whose email ID is going to be visible over here, if he want to send a message to any of the person who has his profile created on this platform, so what he can do, he can first select the ID of that person from this drop down, and after that he can write down the message whatever he want to communicate to that person over here in this message box, and he can hit this send button then. So now we are going to define the code for this send button. Okay, and we are going to code it in such a way that we can get everything, the ID of the sender, the ID of the the ID of the receiver, and this message part. We need to get all these three things saved in a table like structure on the data browser, so that the recipient, in order to receive the message, can fetch the message from that particular table. Okay, so keeping this thing in mind, we are going to define now the code for this send button. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come down over here, and let's make use of this uneven block. So I'm going to put it right in the bottom. Now the ID of this button is send, so we need to replace this ID with send first, and when the user will hit this send button, I would like a table to get created on the data browser connected to this app. So for doing the same, we can make use of this create record block, and let's put it over here. Okay, now here in place of my table, let's make it message. So a table with name message is going to get created on the data browser, in which I would like to save three things. First is the ID of the sender, so I am replacing everything over here with sender. Okay, let's place a comma, and after that we need to send the recipient's email ID also. So the recipient's email ID, we can get it from this drop down, right? Receiver. So this is the name of the column in which it is going to get saved, and third is the message which this sender is going to pass to this receiver. Now from where can we get the values of these three things? That's what we have to think about. So for getting the value for this sender part, we can make use of this get text property, and the component from where we can get it is this. The ID of this component is sender email, so we need to come on this designing part. Let's select this component, this label box, and copy the ID of this component from here. Okay, let's come back on the coding panel and paste that ID inside this get text box. Okay, let's now do the same thing for this receiver part. So I'm going to copy this whole thing and put it over here like this. Now the ID of this drop down is, I think it is drop down 4, right? So we need to replace this with drop down 4. Okay, if you want, you can press enter and bring it in the next line, so it is not going to throw any error. Fine. Receiver get text drop down 4, and where can we get the message from? So we can get it from this component, the ID of which is message box. Let's come in this come on this design panel and select this message box, and I'm going to copy the ID from here and let's place it in between these two double inverted commas. Okay, so I'm done with defining the code for this send button. Now in order to make this app more interactive, we can add a sound to this on even block. Let's do that quickly. So where is that play sound and play speech block? So I'm going to add now both these things. This play speech block also I'm adding, and this play sound block I'm adding. Play speech, I would like to hear something like this from the background. You sent your message successfully. So this is what the user is going to hear. Let's convert it into block-based coding and choose some relevant sound from the sounds library. So this is going to redirect us to this beautiful sounds library. Now here I am going to come on this notifications group and let's select this fourth one. Yeah, this sounds nice. Let's select this one. Okay, let's convert it back into text-based coding. Now besides that, whatever the user has written over here, I would like that thing to go disappear. So as you guys know, we can make use of this set text property. Where is that? We learned it in that teacher student app, right? How can we make everything go disappear? Where is that set text property? I'm finding that. Okay, this is the one, so I'm putting it over here. So as soon as the user will hit this send button, everything whatever is written inside this message box should go disappear. So for doing that, the best way is to pass a null value, okay, an empty value for this message box component. Okay, so we are done with defining the code for this send button. Now let's define the code for the receiver part. So there is a phone kind of image which you are able to see right on the top of this mobile simulator screen, right? So here I have placed a label box, the ID of which is receive. Now I am going to define the code for this receive button. Let's make use of this on even block and I'm going to put it over here like this. The ID of this one is receive, so let's change this one to receive. Okay, spelling is correct, yeah. So when the user will hit this receive button, what should happen? See, now the recipient's ID is going to get reflected over here because now he's behaving as a user, he's using this app. Okay, so his ID is going to get reflected over here, and whoever has sent the message to this person, his ID will be visible over here in this drop down. So now the sender's ID has become the receiver's ID and the receiver's ID has become sender's ID. Keeping this thing as base, we are going to define the code for this receiving button. So what we are trying, see, everything is going to get saved in this message named table, right? So for receiving that message, we can make use of this read records block because we have to fetch the we are required to fetch the records from this message named table, right? So with the help of this read records block, we will be able to do it very easily. Now we need to put two conditions over here. See, if suppose there are more than 3 or 4 people who are using this app for two-way communication. Now how this person will be able to know that a particular person has sent him the message? He would like to read the message only which are sent to him by a particular person. So for doing that, what we can do, we can put validations on the sender email address and the receiver's email address. Let's do it. So the best way of putting the validations, or to put the best way of putting a check on these two things is by making use of this if loop. You can do it very easily. So let's place it over here. Now if Okay, if see the sender's email ID is going to get saved in this sender named column. So how can we fetch that? We can make use of this records I dot sender. Okay, now if this sender is equal to the ID which this user is going to select from this drop down. Okay, so how can we get that ID? We can make use of get text block. Okay, now the ID of this component is drop down 4. Fine. If the ID of the sender is equal to the ID of that person, which this person whose ID is getting reflected over here has selected in this drop down. Okay, and if the receiver, okay, if the receiver is equal to this ID which is getting reflected over here, then only I would like to see the message, whatever message this sender has sent to this receiver, getting reflected in this message area. Let's do that. Set text, and then what is the ID of this component? It is message area. So I'm going to copy this from here. Okay, and let's place it over here. How can we fetch the message? We can make use of the simple code records I message. Fine, because the messages are getting saved in this message named column, right? And let's make it more interactive by adding a place speech block. So I'm going to copy it from here and place it over here. Here is the message. Fine. So let's check whether this code is going to give us the correct output or not. I hope everything is perfectly fine. Converting it into block-based coding and removing all the tables which are there on this data browser. So currently there are no tables on this data browser connected to this application. Let's make use of this link and access the app on 3 different browsers. So this is the first one on which I am going to access the app using the link I just copied from that code.org environment. And whatever you guys are learning, make sure that you guys have to practice it also. And if you want to learn high level languages like Python, Java, C++, etc., you guys are most welcome to avail the online coding classes which I am giving in just ₹500. Okay, so you will be provided with 14 different classes in which we will be discussing concepts related to high level programming language. Okay, so I'm done with accessing the app on 3 different browsers. Yeah, so on this one I'm going to create the first profile. So let's make use of one of these IDs. So I'm making use of this one for now. Okay, and here I'm going to select this password. Done with creating the first profile, and as you can see,
profile has been
the ID is
successfully
getting
created
reflected
on
over
this
here.
platform.
Let's create another profile. So I'm selecting anubhav@gmail.com, and anubhav123 is a password which I'm selecting. Let's hit the submit button.
Hi.
Okay, so now
Your
I'm able to
profile
see
has been
Anubhav's ID
successfully
getting
created
reflected
on
over
this
here.
platform.
Let's now make use of this navy@gmail.com, and here I'm going to select navy123 as a password for this profile.
Hi.
Okay, I'm able to see Navy's
Your profile has been
ID
successfully
getting
created
over
on this platform.
now when you hit this drop down, you will be able to see all these 3 IDs. Here also you'll be able to see all these 3 IDs, and here also you will be able to see all the 3 IDs of all the 3 people whose profiles are there on this platform. Right, now if suppose Gaurav want to communicate something to Anubhav, so what he has to do, he need to select this Anubhav's ID from here, and he can just send him a hi Anubhav, how are you? Let's see what is going to happen when he will hit this send button.
You sent your message
Okay, so
successfully.
whatever he wrote in this message box, it is now no more visible to us. Let's check whether the table has got created on the data browser or not. Yes, we have two different tables on this data browser. One is with name user. So in this, I'm able to see all the IDs and the password with which these users created their profiles. And in this, I'm able to see the message which this sender has sent to this receiver. Let's see whether this receiver will be able to receive the message or not. So first of all, Anubhav need to select Gaurav's ID from here, and now he can hit this receive button. Okay, so I
Here is
am
the
able to
message.
see the message which Gaurav has sent to Anubhav on his ID. Right. Let's see whether Anubhav will be able to reply to this message or not. Hi Gaurav, I am doing great. Okay, there is a spelling mistake. I'm doing great. How about you? Okay, let's see what is going to happen when we will hit this send button.
You sent your message
Okay,
successfully.
so Anubhav has successfully sent the message to Gaurav. Let's see whether Gaurav will be able to receive the message or not. So for doing that, you need to select Anubhav's ID from this drop down first, and let's hit this receiving button.
Here
Okay,
is the
so Anubhav
message.
is able to receive, Gaurav is able to receive the message sent by Anubhav. Let's see whether Gaurav will be able to communicate anything to this Neevi's panel or not. So for doing that, we need to first select Neevi's ID from here. Hi Neevi, how are you? Okay, let's hit this send button.
You sent your message
Okay,
successfully.
so Gaurav is done with sending a message to Neevi. Let's see whether Neevi will be able to receive that message or not. So she needs to select Gaurav's ID first. Okay, and let's hit this receiving button.
Here is the
Okay, great.
message.
So the app is working perfectly fine. As you can see, all these people are able to communicate their things using this app over here. Now, if you have any query, anything which you are not able to understand, you guys are most welcome to ask me the same. Sawmill does. So create record is used to make a table, and if we want to read records of that table, we will absolutely correct Sawmill. Is there any other query? Is there anything else you would like me to answer? I hope everything is clear to you guys. In case you come across any issue, you're most welcome to reach me using that comment section. Thank you very much for attending this lecture, and do share the link of this video with your colleagues so that they can also join and learn coding free of cost. Thank you very much. God bless you and have a great day. Bye bye.